This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Frank Smith, or is it Eddie Hearn now? You've just been rewarded a nice little plaque there, Frank, already.
I won Eddie's award. I said it's the story of my life, collecting Eddie's awards. Mr. Eddie Hearn, Promoter of the Year 2022 EBU, thank you very much. I'll just put this down.
Frank, here we are in Birmingham, God's country, as I said to Eddie. It is indeed. How are you finding your time here? Very short so far.
Apart from the rain, I'm loving it, mate.
Yeah, you brought the rain. Eddie's left, you brought the rain.
Some nice coffee shops, though. Why, was it sunny yesterday?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I might have to go home then, at this rate.
Obviously, we're here, Galal, for your first show back in Birmingham since Amir Khan and Sam Vargas are closing in on 5 years. And here we are with the next gen show, Galal Yafai, coming through with Tommy. Frank, walk me through what you're hoping Galal shows tomorrow night.
Look, I think, Galal Yafai's got a huge future. He's moved very quickly straight into title fights in his debut, and I think he's not far off from challenging for a world title. To bring him home, he's fought all over the place, but to bring him home was an important thing for us to do, and we're going to move him very quickly. So excited for the main event, great card top to bottom as well. Sol Dacres out there as well. Cyrus Pattinson against Walker's a brilliant fight. Got Jordan Flynn against Kane Baker. Love that fight. Khalil Majid's first fight with us. Stacked top to bottom, and then some great fights on the before the bell section as well. So good to be in Birmingham. Sold really well, and yeah, exciting.
Obviously, just touching on some of the fighters on the card, Sol Dacres is very much wanting to try and push himself towards that British title scene. You've got the Wardley Adelaide situation ongoing. Of course, you've got Fraser Clark over with Boxer. Where does Sol Dacres fit into those plans, though, to try and make some of those big domestic fights?
Yeah, look, he's in a great position for those big fights. He's in a great position for those fights. And he's got a test on Saturday night, and then look, he would have taken any of those. He would have gone in for that British title when there was all the confusion around Fraser Clark, Fabio Wardley, all of that going on. He would have taken those fights then. So yeah, it's the key for us: keep him active and move him quickly.
Cyrus Pattinson, a lot of pressure on him tomorrow night to not only win but to look good doing so, because Eddie mentioned that big fight up in Newcastle towards the back end of the year.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. We've been working hard to try and put something together there. Cyrus, always in an entertaining fight. We saw him in the fight against Jenkins. That was back and forth. I think you're in for a great fight Saturday, and like you say, a big fight latter part of the year. It'll be a good one, and he's an exciting fight to watch. And I think the crowd will really come out for him in Newcastle.
Frank, unfortunately for Eddie, he's had it for the last couple of days. You'll probably be getting it today. A lot of talk about PEDs within boxing, obviously looking at your stable in particular. Just kind of walking through what's happened in the last 24 hours or so since we last spoke to Eddie, putting questions to you. Reports emerged yesterday that the drug that Dillian Whyte tested positive for was called Molly-Justat. It's an experimental drug. Can you confirm if that was what Dillian had tested positive for?
No, look, I can't go into detail of it. People would love us to talk more about it, but it's not our position to. It's all confidential information. So, I can't really go into any more detail on it that you've asked there. No, sorry.
Obviously, I can understand. Obviously, you've got to keep things confidential. With that in mind, Eddie said in numerous interviews that he doesn't know Dillian well enough, the exact words that he's used. Obviously, you guys have promoted him for a number of years. You've put on his biggest fights, with the exception of the Fury one. Why is it that you guys maybe feel that you don't have quite that relationship with Dillian, despite the working relationship you guys have had for a number of years now?
I think it was always a different relationship. Obviously we had AJ. We were working with AJ for all those years, and I think maybe there was a little bit. We did a number of Dillian's fights, as you said, but the relationship was much more with the team around him, his management team, than Dillian himself a lot of the time. And I think, I think it's something that he has to deal with personally. And just like when Conor Benn had to go through the situation, he was dealing with a lot of it with his legal team. It's a personal issue to deal with, but I don't think there's anything. It's not a bad relationship with Dillian Whyte at all. It's just it wasn't as close as maybe some of our other relationships with fighters. Everyone's different, we have different relationship with it, all different fighters we have, some closer with managers and some closer with the fighter themselves.
Still speaking with Dillian, trying to kind of get to the bottom of his current situation?
I haven't spoken to Dillian. I haven't spoken to him in a few weeks since we were making the fight in the first instance. But I'm sure some members of the team are still speaking to the management team. But no further news from our end.
UKAD and British Boxing Board of Control deciding to appeal the National Anti-Doping Panel's decision to lift Conor Benn's suspension. Was you surprised yesterday when you saw that news?
Nothing really surprises me with the whole thing that's gone on. You know, it was a shame to see it just a day or so before the period had ended. They decided to do that. Look, Conor's done everything asked of him. He went and dealt with the WBC situation. People then said, well, no, you need to deal with this. He went to the National Anti-Doping Panel. They then made their decision. He's not suspended. He's cleared to fight. He's got an international licence. It's one of those things. You know, it's another part of the whole story. You know, our focus is to get Conor Benn back out boxing and active. He hasn't boxed now in 16 months, 14 months at this part of his career. And look, it was right. He had to go through a process that he's been through. I'm not questioning that at all. But he's shown time and time again and been through those processes. And now it just seems to be, right, let's add another bit of time on the end. It is what it is. Like I say, our focus is to keep him active and keep getting back fighting, and that's what we'll aim to do.
How long does this new appeal process take? Do you have any idea?
I don't really want to put time frames on it because we've been in this position before where we say it's a week, it's 10 days, it's 2 days, it's 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks, and everyone's like, well, what is it? As with anything legal, you never quite know. But the key, as I keep going back to, is getting him active and getting him fighting for us.
Frank, I have to ask as well, Eddie said previously that this was not a decision based on jurisdiction. Looking at the reports that came out yesterday, he says that it was claimed that the National Anti-Doping Panel's decision was focused heavily on UKAD's inability to rule on VADA tests and did not include an examination of science. Was it on jurisdiction? Was it down to the clomiphene being in his body? Can you confirm whether or not Conor's been able to clear anything to do with clomiphene within his system?
All I can confirm, because the details of the case as they came out and said were all confidential, is that it wasn't based on jurisdiction, and that's, you know, as much as detail as I can. Again, I know people will get frustrated that we can't go into too much detail about it all, but it's not our position. The rules of the National Anti-Doping Panel are that that it remains confidential. I can just confirm though that it wasn't jurisdiction.
It was under jurisdiction, just.
It wasn't, yeah.
And then
Pick that bit up and say, oh, yeah.
No, you clarified. That's perfectly good. Moving forwards, though, Jessica McCaskill had a few choice words yesterday. Obviously, it's come out since that you guys have sent a legal letter to her team. Just want to get your thoughts on what she had to say and where things currently stand on that front.
Madness, what she said. I don't quite understand where it's come from. Crazy to hear. The guys are going back and forth with them on it. It's not. Look, I want to focus on more positive. We spend so much time talking about going back and forth on these things. I want to focus on good things and good things in the sport of boxing. All I can say is absolute madness, and can't quite believe she said it.
Does it affect the Sandy Ryan fight at all?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. It's a great fight. Hopefully it doesn't. Look, we can't just stand back when people say things like that and go, yeah, perfect, okay, fine, thanks very much. We're not going to accept that, because anyone could just say anything. And a lot of people do say a lot of rubbish. But she has a voice. She's a fighter, active fighter. Like I say, we can't just accept that. But, yeah, let's see.
Frank, Alycia Baumgardner has replied to a tweet online saying that she asked for VADA testing and they said no. When she said they, she didn't make it clear whether it was Matchroom or if it was VADA. Can you clarify who that would have been who said no to that?
No, look, we use different agencies. Sometimes we use VADA, sometimes we use Drug Free Sport. In this instance, we use Drug Free Sport. They're a highly reputable agency. They do a number of the major leagues all across the US, and we went with the Drug Free Sport route. It wasn't VADA turned her down, so that clarifies that question hopefully.
And then Frank, obviously, I know you had your meeting with the Saudi team travel delegation. That's the word. Yeah, obviously they travelled over to talk about the Joshua Wilder fight. How did those meetings go?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We have a great relationship with Prince Khalid and his team. We have done for a number of years. Delivered some massive events with them. Hopefully, we can continue to do so. But always good. Always good to see them and catch up. And look, the talks are ongoing. Still work to be done. So let's see. But it's exciting times.
How confident are you that that gets over the line for next year?
I'm not saying anything more about confident, not confident. I just want to try and make things happen, because people just come back and say, you spoke about this so much. Like, let's all work hard and try and make the best fights possible. The key is for us is Anthony Joshua, delivering big opportunities for him, and that's our focus.
And then just final one, the Opetaia-Riakporhe situation. Can you just clarify to me as to kind of how all of that unfolded? Obviously, I saw Eddie saying that he received an email passed on to him, which had been sent from Boxer to your partners out in Australia. So can you just clarify as to what your situation is there?
Should we sit down? We'll go through this. We'll start at the top and go.
You've got to head off soon, so I don't think we've got that amount of time.
Yeah, look, in real quick form, right? We've been speaking to Joe Opetaia for a long, long time. Our business is to sign fighters. We're the biggest promotional company in the world. We will always sign fighters. We've been talking to him 5-6 months, even longer than that. He's with Mick Francis Tasman Fighters. We promote Justice Hooney with. When we were in New Orleans, we were looking at the Masternak fight. We were looking at doing that all together in Australia. Then Masternak pulled out because they were going to give Masternak to Chris Billam-Smith. Then Riakporhe was next in line. Then Mick Francis was sending some offers through to do it in Australia. Then they were like, "Oh, we need all this detail," asking a load of crazy questions because they're not that experienced. And then Mick Francis said, "Right, we're signed with Matchroom. Please direct all communications to Matchroom." I got an approach from Boxer. A few days later, I said, "Yeah, let's have a chat on this." Never heard back. Then they left it, and at that point I thought we're just going to purse bids, and great, the fighters get paid the most amount of money possible. Hopefully Boxer offer an absolute fortune and Jai makes a load of money. Great news. Never heard back. They pulled out the purse bid the day of the fight, said we've got other massive opportunities for Jai Opetaia, for Alycia Baumgardner, sorry, and then a day later or 2 days later, after pulling out the purse bid, they sent an offer through and said, "Don't share this with Eddie or Matchroom," to Tasman Fighters Mick Francis. Of course, he then shared it straight away. So basically, they're out of their depth. Don't know what they're doing. Best of luck to them. Good luck in the business, and keep ruining fighters' careers. Good luck.
Frank, thank you for speaking to Boxing News.
Cheers, mate.